Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a complicated game designed for, at an absolute minimum, STEM subject honor students or lawyers. Some cards are particularly egregious for this, requiring in-depth knowledge of the card pool, PSCT, and random scientific hypotheses. I asked you over on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Farfa to tell me which cards make your opponent suddenly become stupid. Which Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards causes them to reread 4 times and still misplay? Here are the results. So, I was in the middle of a duel last night, and I was playing against Ancient Warrior. Yeah, it's very late in the season. That's what happens in Gold. But I had this really hilarious situation, because now that Dragon Link is back in Master Duel, I decided to play some dragons again. Of course, the boss monster's Boral end. Now, it was a really interesting couple of interactions. My opponent summons Ancient Warrior to out the Boral end. They activate Ancient Warrior, it can't target Boral end. So then they climbed up into a Nightmare Unicorn. Can't target Boral end still. So they climb up into an access code talker. Non-targeting destruction, surely this will be the one. They activate and they try and destroy Boral end. Nothing happens. They go to the battle phase and attack for 53. I take a bit of damage and Boral end is still there. Some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards just apply a 20% debuff to the field when they're summoned. Of course, I had to throw in a bonus one as well. Sometimes there are Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards where when they hit the field, your opponent just becomes an idiot. Fenrir, Boral end, there are some great examples of this. So which ones do you have to suggest? Let's have a read. This card in general, but I'm talking about the pendulum effect. Most people don't realize that the summon and pop is all one effect, and that the pop effect counts the number of cards that can hold spell counters, not the number of cards that have spell counters. Mighty Master is a weird card, because the best effect of Mighty Master, well, I mean, they're both pretty strong actually, but the summon effect specifically, it's a spell effect. So a lot of people will like have Mighty Master get summoned on them, activate the effect in the scale, destroy 4 cards, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, Chain, Veiler, or Impermanence. It's like, brother, you cannot Veiler my Pendulum scale. That is not how that works. You have no idea how many judge calls I've had asking if drawing counts as adding from deck. Ha! Bro Drew. Generator Boss Stage is a 1-card deck. Yes, you could technically throw this into anything and it's that powerful, especially in Sealed if you remember from Saga. PSA, spoiler, drawing a card is adding a card. Think about it. Think about it. And this right here is one of my favorite cards of reading. Golden Castle of Stromberg. You know, after the second one, it's kind of just on you. The third one, you actually just might maybe be an NPC. Don't act like you read. Oh, that's weird. I just read your comment. Oh, what's that? Ban? I just read how to ban you. How? I guess I do read after all, baby. I love when I use this effect while I control a synchro and my opponent goes, what do you mean I can't activate monster effects? Celestial Magician is a great card because it is one of the most positive and negative spectrums in Yu-Gi-Oh! It is like Ixie summoned with a card. The attack becomes double its original attack. It becomes bigger. And then there's like Pendulum. It gets a search of a Pendulum card, but in the end phase. The synchro effect of Celestial Magician, your opponent can activate monster effect. The disparity in the power between all of these effects is ridiculous. I don't know how they came up with that. But yeah, summoning this when you've already made a Baron the floor, now you're Majesty's Fiend. Heh, nice cock. Have you read Misk? Miscellaneousaurus is one of the most ridiculously powerful cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a starter, it's an extender, and it's a defensive card that makes your cards uninteractable. There's a good reason people were complaining about this for a long time. Miscellaneousaurus makes people stupid because it also applies only for one main phase. But in main phase 2, it doesn't apply. It says this main phase. Yes, there's 2 of them in Yu-Gi-Oh! People take one look at this card and rage, calling for it to be banned. Like, bro, it's only 800 attack. Just beat over it. Haha. Why would we ever complain about a generic Nboard piece?
The 4 horsemen are dying, do not at me.
I have yet to have an opponent that doesn't sigh and reread this guy 3 times every time he hits the board. Ritual Beast Counterhawk needs you to understand the coding language of Yu-Gi-Oh! The lawyer game. You need to know how the return and if you do type of clause works, because you target 2 monsters in your banish zone, you return them to the grave, you get a search. However, he has a quick effect that chains to run away. So he tags himself out for cost, by the way, and then you can summon one of the ones you targeted, and then as long as you return one of the cards, you still get the search. And, of course, not to mention, how many times people will try and activate an effect veiler or an imperm after that effect activates, and then realize, oh, wait a second, this just tags out for cost. It's been 8 years. If you still don't know what Ritual Beast Counterhawk does, then maybe you need to go sell some socks. Shoutouts to OG Farfa viewers if you remember that reference. Playing events with this in the extra was the funniest. That's one of the hardest monsters. Well, not that hard, but it was pretty hard to out in 2016. If this face-up card in its owner's control is sent to your graveyard or banished by your opponent's card effect, special this and face down. And if it's flipped face up, send the card on the field to the grave. Pretty annoying card that randomly was relevant for like a format. Most of you probably don't remember what this is. Yes, it revives itself and steals. No, it's not once per turn. Yes, it gains life to win in time. Yes, it's also negate attack. No, that's not a once per turn either. Okay, if you're passing on Natasha, that's weird. Especially when you go to the battle phase and then get negated multiple times before realizing it isn't once per turn. But occasionally you'll be in a simplified game set where that happens. Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. I still laugh thinking about the Labyrinth player having a real game bug moment where I sat with this big bungus in front of a lady lab in 3 back row. Unaffected by spells and traps. Oh, that's really funny. Yeah, Labyrinth is like one way to interact with this and only one way. That's hilarious. It's funny how often people just keep swinging into this neck. Whoa, shut up, dude. I hate this combo, man. You know what the problem with these locks or these cards is that in order to really understand what's going on, you have to read like 3 different cards to understand fully what's happening. And, oh, man, I hate this. I hate this card. I hate this. Shoutouts to the other Boral monster people struggle with because they don't realize the ritual spell has another effect. Wait a second. I am Boral's #1 fan and I've never played Interlock. The monster special by this effect can't be destroyed by battle with a monster special from the extra deck and is unaffected by activated effects of any monster special from the extra deck. I wish that this was a meta card. This is so fun. It's a ritual by destroying. I love that. Riot Dragon is legitimately so cool, by the way. It's a shame that it's a ritual. I mean, it does explain itself and there's a formula for it, but hot take here. If I have to do a mathematical formula to resolve one Yu-Gi-Oh card, it's a badly designed card, okay? It's a gimmick that shouldn't be in the game, or at least should be there just for fun and not be meta. The only formula I want to know is how many cards in deck, and then minus that number from the number of cards in my deck, and then mill all of those cards. Shoutouts to Grass. Cosmoclore. The number of times I've had my opponent snatch a loss from the jaws of victory by destroying several of their bosses because of the attack loss is truly staggering. Dude, if you combine this with the field spell, doesn't it just like reduce your attacks by like 4,000 or something? It's just unbeatable from battle. Mech Knights make people allergic to reading. I can explain why this is a problematic card. How many freaking continuous trap cards negate on resolution when you chain another card? And then, the way this guy is worded is also weird. If your Mech Knight monster battles a monster in a different column than it, your monster can't be destroyed by battle. So basically, the only way to punch over this thing is to put it in the same column. But the problem is that they can move it in the battle phase because of the spaceship purple guy. I'm not complaining about Mech Knight being too good. I'm just saying it's annoying. As a Speed Droid player, nobody knows how to counter this. I've seen so many people buff a single monster to absurd amounts and attack into it, thus OTKing themselves. Brother, I don't know what like locals or what format or metagame you're talking about. If my opponent summons a level 7 0 attack monster in attack against me, instead of like Crystal Wing, like you're supposed to do in Speed Droid, I'm gonna read the card. I know, hot take, controversial, Farfa reading, but I'm not just letting you put this on the field in attack with 0 attack and just cluelessly sit there like, this is fine. I'm sure there's no logical plan behind this. They must be throwing. Oh, this card is annoying. I remember a few times when I played Virtual World doing the combo to end on Crystal Wing, Caliga, Shen. Watching an opponent slowly realize they couldn't break my board with their DPE because they'd ran out of card effects for the turn. One of the most, like, randomly broken cards and a bad archetype. Each player can only attempt to activate one monster effect per turn. It's supposed to synergize with Mechaba. So you can only attempt to use the effect once per turn. And if they negate it with the one Mechaba for the turn, then that's you. You're done for the turn. You don't get more. The amount of opponents who've asked, oh, it's not a hard once per turn and proceeded to watch me trigger its grave effect 4 times in a turn is more than I can count. Fluffle just does like ridiculous things. Like you don't know where to hand trap it. It's like, okay, I'm gonna Veiler your dog, and then like somehow they just hard draw like the vendor, and then they discard wings, and then their Pot of Greeting, and then suddenly a penguin shows up, then a Bahamut Toad, and a Sprite Elf, and I want to say maybe the most powerful deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! That has never had a Premier Event top. It is absurdly good. Might as well be in Japanese. I love that he posted the actual Japanese one. Bonus funny points in Masado when people go down the checklist of removals they have. Usually, annoying monsters like this that are unaffected by things and indestructible by it, all you need to do is just flip Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is one of the craziest cards that has ever happened in this game. Not a great answer, but the amount of people when I summon this with 6,000 attack just try to pop this is funny. Raigeki? No. Ha ha ha. Wait. Ral Cybur is a pretty vanilla Towers monster in terms of power. But I think the reason why this is so good is because with the new modern-ish like Cyber's pile junk that this deck has been doing, Ral Cybur's backed up with like a bunch of hand traps, usually drawn from Heat Soul, a spin in the graveyard, and like a Firewall Singularity. It's actually quite hard to deal with it once you have disruption involved. You see, when Yu-Gi-Oh! Players read this guy, they just do the usual skimming of the text and ignore the first line. Negate monster effects activated by your opponent in the battle phase. Then they try to swing with Fenrir and do Fenrir's effect. Yeah, so Tempest, his main effect really is dumping the guys from the extra to the grave, and then you have to read those guys to understand what this guy does. It's one of those, I like to call them addendum Yu-Gi-Oh! Card effects, where the card effect isn't actually relevant. It's the other one that it gets to that's relevant. That's annoying. But it's really powerful because not only does it, you know, give you a negate or a spin or something from the graveyard, it also just happens to stop, like, I don't know, Boral Sword if these were ever legal at the same time, or more commonly as they've described, Fenrir. Magnus! Hugh Power Rangers spinning non-targeting removal and affected by effects you can't draw. I'm making a second one next turn. This is actually one of the most craziest boss monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! The problem is that it's way too freaking difficult to summon. I think there was a Soul Charge deck that won a ARG back in like 2016 or something playing Magnus Turbo, and it was just designed to do nothing but summon Magnus. Hopefully your opponent doesn't have a Kaiju. I'm late for this, but I don't really care. The amount of times my opponents have tried to target or run over anything else in battle is astonishing. It's not like I explain it either. It says what's on the card and still takes multiple reads. Okay, so again, I'll explain why this card is annoying. Aria by itself isn't actually that crazy. While this is on the field, Melodiouses can't be targeted or destroyed by battle. But then you have like the other one also that has like the other Melodious can't be attacked or like it can't be destroyed by card effects. And then when you like join them together, it creates this like powerful duplock thing that basically only gets dealt with by like, I don't know, non-targeting removal or something. That's usually why people trip up. And this is exactly what I'm referring to. Huli. This is such a like an annoying card because of the equip card that makes this powerful, but then because this thing is equipped, it also makes the equip unable to be targeted. And then you're sitting there with a 0 attack monster thinking to yourself, okay, well, what if I just attack and then they reflect the damage, and then you try and spin the monster, but you can't target it because it's equipped, and then the equip, you try and pop the equip, but then the equip can't be destroyed. Makanko's notoriously annoying for being sticky that way. Don't take what I said out of context. Before I knew anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, this was the card that was fun to play as the opponent scrambles to use every card to remove him. Pop? No. Banish? No. Spin? No. Well, you see, all you need to do is attack Crooked Cook. It's very simple. The problem is that Crooked Cook can be summoned with a shark. The shark says, cannot be destroyed by battle. So now this monster is unaffected and can't be destroyed by battle. And let me tell you, there are very few ways to deal with cards like this in Yu-Gi-Oh! By the way, shout outs to Daruma Cannon. Me and my boys love Daruma Cannon. If you are playing a trap deck and your opponent summons a Towers monster, Daruma Cannon outs 99% of problems. Draw 3 this, draw 3 that. The real fun of Fur Hire is watching your opponent sit there with 2 dudes wondering why they can't make Underworld Goddess. I never noticed that. I don't know why you would need to make a Goddess just to out a Folgo, but that's pretty funny. For me, it's 2 cards, Resonator and Red Rein. It's a good laugh whenever the opponent uses Raigeki Feather Duster, only to find that nothing is gone. For Red Rein, they don't read the full card and think they can mess with my synchros. If you control a level 8 or higher banish monsters of the field, so the highest level. Also, remaining face-up monsters of the field are unaffected by other card effects except their own until the end of this turn. You know, the Jack Atlas cards are really powerful. I'm really shocked that they didn't do anything in the metagame. Whenever she's out, they never read her first line of text for traps, or especially after I steal one of their monsters and they try to target her with the same type. Especially Blue Eyes and Bestial players. Yeah, I know it's rough down there in Bronze. Don't gotta keep shitting on them. I have several other monsters on the field alongside it to get rid of, but my opponent keeps getting wasting their removal effects on Ultimate Falcon, not realizing it's blanket unaffected. That's a reading problem. That's like 5 words. Come on. What? I attacked into it, it gained loads of attack and destroyed my monster? Lucky it's once per turn, attacks again. Lucky it's only twice per turn, attacks again. So Avramax is really annoying because you can't beat it. You can't target it, and if you're absolutely annoying, you can make it with Masquerena, and it also becomes indestructible. I can't even think of how you out it at that point, other than like, you know, the typical tribute stuff or Underworld Goddess. I think there's like another way to add... Oh, non-targeting removal, like Seals works, Typhon works now. SP? SP outs this? Are you sure? What do you mean it negates on resolution? I can't super polymerization. Yeah, it's a really annoying card. The only way to get rid of this, I think, was like tribute over it or drop Forbidden Droplets. Sending it for cost, then it would work. Just gonna leave this here. All right, this is a Saga reference. And the reason that this card is so low quality and blurry is because this is exactly how my eyes feel when I read this card. Anything involving math, just get that shit away from me. Ah, so you're attacking the defense position Baraibo. No, it doesn't get destroyed. Yes, it's a blanket effect. That's why I summoned my whole board in defense. Game 2. If the battle position of a character you control is changed, target a card, banish it. If the single summon special character, monsters you control in defense position can't be destroyed by battle. See, I just hate, like, the structure of this card. And this is like a Yu-Gi-Oh card text thing, because it's a complete, like, dice roll where Konami decides to put the card text. Like, look at this. We have the on-summon effect at the start. That is usually what happens, right? However, the on-summon effect of Spirit of Yubel is at the end of the card. And the continuous effect of Yubel, cannot be destroyed by battle, is at the start of the card. Karakuri guy, the continuous effect is at the middle of the card. And then the ignition effect is at the end of the card. You know, I would just wish there was like some sort of like logical structure. Like, you know, like at an absolute minimum, can we get some bullet points? Or can we just make it a rule to put, like, you know, on-summon effects at the start, then triggers, then stuff like... You know, it's like, just for consistency. The fact that there's a non-zero number of people in Masado who've reacted to me bringing out the first Dark Lord with something like Compulse, realize it doesn't work after 20 seconds, and immediately shame-scooped is so funny to me. I'm not trying to rank shame right now, but where are you playing where Compulse is a meta card? I mean, you could have used something a little bit more relevant than Compulse. I mean, SP targets. Duel Links, but this card was released alongside the Arc V characters in box, which included a broken skill that read Always Open Ostinato. If I recall correctly, people on Reddit were literally making posts asking, is the game bugged? Why can't I kill this? And why game bug has to be my favorite response to anything for a Yu-Gi-Oh card that has like a quote-unquote secret effect or some kind of hidden, you know, continuous effect. By the way, look, here's another good look. Continuous effect is at the start of the card. You'd think, like, maybe there was consistency with the extra deck monsters. Nope, continuous effect is in the middle of the card. Makes me so angry. Battle. Oh, this is a good one. So many duels in Masdo end with my opponent scooping after they can't get rid of Argonaut thanks to this. See, the trick with Marine Cess is you just get rid of the field spell. People are trying to, like, deal with an unaffected monster that also has, like, attack gains and stuff. Like, trying to do, like, quirky stuff, like non-targeting removal or linking it. Just get rid of the field spell. All right, and now we're done. Thanks, everyone, for taking part, and appreciate you answering my question on the internet. Subscribe for more, follow me on Twitter, and blah, blah, blah. Peace!